You're listening to the Bleav in Giants podcast with two-time Super Bowl winner Carl Banks and the voice of the Giants, Bob Papa.
Welcome you to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We are fired up as we get you set for the Giants and the Chargers. This podcast is presented by our good friends at FanDuel. And Carl, after the misery that was last week's offensive performance, the narrative has completely changed. And we're going to have somebody on this podcast to talk a little bit about what makes Jaxson Dart tick. The great Charlie Weis will join us here momentarily. But were you surprised that the move was made, or did you get a sense that something had to change?
Well, when we did our coaches show on Tuesday, you know, Coach and I sit and we look at film and we go over plays, and he kind of got this. I got the sense just from talking to him that he kind of felt like he may wanted to do something, and he just said he said to me, he says, I'm not sure, but I think I might be ready to make a change. And it wasn't, you know, you didn't get the sense that it was for anything other than getting the offense on track. And I think they have maybe the second or third most red zone trips in the league, in the least amount of conversions. They're like 1 of 7 or 1 of 8 or something like that. And so
I'll tell you exactly what they are.
Okay.
They are 31st, 2 touchdowns, 5 field goals, stopped on downs 3 times. So 7 scores in 10 trips and only 2 touchdowns, which is 31st in the NFL in touchdown percentage.
But the amount of trips that they've been down there is pretty high in the league, I believe. I read.
Not like it's about average. Like the Chargers have had 10 trips. The Giants' opponents have had 10 trips. You know, nothing bad. But, you know, not like they haven't gotten there. That's the point.
Right.
They've gotten there the same amount of times as their opponents and the team they're playing this week.
Yeah, so you just kind of got the sense, and then, and I didn't bring it up, but it was kind of the sequence down there on the goal line when, you know, on 4th down the ball goes into the stands instead of giving them a chance, you know, for pass interference or anything. But it's not going to be easy for anyone to disparage Russell Wilson. Look, he had a bad game, made bad plays. He's been a positive for this team. He's going to be a positive for Jaxson Dart. So, you know, change was needed. You know, I've been reading a lot about how it's a desperation move. It's a move to save your job. All things can be true. They're all mutually beneficial if it works out. But, you know, it was the roller coaster of opinions from some of the same people who said one thing 3-4 months ago and now saying something different now. You know, a lot of people thought put him in there right away. And the Giants said, no, we're going to try to develop him as much as possible. Some people thought it was wrong. And now that he's in, some people think it's wrong. It's never the wrong time when your team is 0-3. You drafted a kid. He's your future. So if you're going to be 0-4 or 0-5, you might as well just get going with the process now. You wanted Russell to kind of stabilize this first quarter of the season, if not longer, so that you could continue to work with the kid. But the work with Jaxson Dart doesn't stop because he's now playing. They've gotten him reps, in-game reps, just to get him comfortable with the flow of it. So the change is made, and that's what it is. I think a lot of people also were screaming at the players on the team found out about the change via the internet. Well, they were on their day off when the change was announced, and it was announced at a press conference.
Yeah, it's usually when it happens. It usually
Yeah,
happens late Monday or Tuesdays when most of the guys are off, and after the
yeah,
coaches have sat through the film.
yeah. So the players probably wouldn't know unless there's some newsletter that goes out, which I don't think it is, but I'm sure it was addressed Wednesday in the meeting. Yeah, I think it's a time for excitement, not poking holes at the decision to play him now or to play him next year or to play him this year. He was drafted. We all got a chance to see him in camp, in preseason. So we know he has, the record with skills to play the game. Would they have liked to sat him a little longer? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, they would have. They would have, Carl. If they weren't 0-3 and they were functioning in the red zone, Russell Wilson would still be the starting quarterback. And Jaxson Dart would eventually get put in. But desperate times call for desperate measures. And there's just been too many trips in the red zone against the Chiefs and opportunities against the Commanders where they settled for field goals. And the
Cowboys.
Yeah, even the Cowboys, the opening drive of the game, with all the penalties and everything else, they still wound up settling for 3. Of course, they were able to hit the big shots. But, yeah, I mean, 0-3 and a coach in his 4th year that doesn't have a winning record, you knew this was coming sooner rather than later, okay? Mm-hmm. If they were 2-1 at this point, or maybe even if they were 1-2, maybe you could hold it off a little bit longer. But I think your point is well taken. I mean, the red zone numbers are the red zone numbers, and something had to change. Now, I saw a comment from a fan asking us a question about, do you think Wilson was losing or Dable was going to lose the locker room? And I think you and I can say with a lot of confidence, Russell Wilson is very well liked by his teammates, despite what the noise has been in other places that he's been. And I don't think it was anything of that ilk, like, they're going to lose the locker room if we keep starting Russell Wilson. I think they just looked at the red zone and the way it's not functioning and missed opportunities and plays. Even on that 4th and 3, man, they had the slant open on the opening drive, but it got batted. Like, you just can't allow that to get batted. That's momentum. That's important. And I think they felt it was time to make a change.
Yeah, and it's coaches, they coach, and it's a result-oriented business. You're not getting the results. You've got to make a change. So, I mean, if you want to poke holes into the reason why is they're 0-3. And if you don't win, you get fired. So, they want to put the kid in. They want to show progress. They have to show progress with this draft class, with the last one before it. You can't look like you're looking. The offense looked hard again. It just looks stuck. And we're all anxious to see the creativity that Jaxson Dart will allow the play caller to have. It's not a knock on Russell. Russell's a 14-year veteran. We knew what he was. They knew what he could and could not do. He's mobile, but he's not mobile, right? He can move around, but he's been his height his whole life, and it's been good for him. But it's, some of the things were limiting in that game. Some of the things that were available to the offense in the Kansas City Chiefs game, he couldn't get to it. I don't know if he couldn't see it or just wasn't patient enough to get to it, but he bailed a few times in the pocket. But look, Russell's going to be good. As long as he's in that locker room on this roster, he's going to be good for the Giants. but it's a results-oriented business. They have not gotten the results that they had hoped for or that they were looking for this offense, and they've got to get it better. I mean, there's 14 more games on the roster, and they are cognizant of, how the fan base feels, and nobody's happy about losing.
Yeah, and listen, here's a very alarming stat. I mean, the Giants have had 40 third down opportunities. 10 of them have been between 2 and 4 yards. They're 3 for 10. Like, that has to be, that's 30%. That is so far below the league average. That was the problem about the game the other night. They were 1 for 10 on third downs, but they only had their third and long, meaning 9+ twice. They had makeable third downs, and I talked to Daves about that. The other day at the facility, like when because he kept talking. He's like, yeah, 1 for 10 on third downs ain't gonna cut it. And I'm like, the worst part about it is you were in manageable third downs,
right?
Like, it wasn't in like you were in third and forevers where what play do we have for 3rd and 17? No, it was third and 3, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 5. Like, in today's NFL, those are very gettable. Hey, listen, finding great candidates to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You get a lot of resumes, not a lot of candidates, the right skills or experience. Now, obviously, with Jaxson Dart right there, the Giants don't have to go through ZipRecruiter, but you may have to. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. Right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Customize and get your job criteria down to a T. You know why? Because ZipRecruiter has smart technology and it identifies top talent for your roles quickly. Immediately after you post the job, ZipRecruiter has this powerful matching technology, and it starts showing you qualified people. So you're streamlining all this, and they're doing a lot of the work for you. Let ZipRecruiters connect you with top candidates ASAP, and then you can use ZipRecruiter's pre-written invite to apply message to personally reach out to your favorite candidates and encourage them. Come on, let's go. We got to go. Ditch the other hiring sites. Let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/AUDIO. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. And speaking of that, Carl, we didn't need ZipRecruiter to find somebody that we can get to talk in depth about Jaxson Dart. He is a 4-time Super Bowl champion coach. Of course, he won 3 as the offensive coordinator with the Patriots, won a Super Bowl ring as a coach with the New York Giants, the running backs coach when the Giants won Super Bowl 25. And who better to talk about what Jaxson Dart can bring to the table than the great Charlie Weis. Welcome to the Bleav in Giants podcast. Oh, he's got the Ole Miss shirt. Toddy. All right, Coach. Obviously, the move was made. No one wanted to see 0-3. The red zone offense is 31st in the NFL. They only have 2 touchdowns in their 10 trips in the red zone. Something had to be done. What is Jaxson Dart going to bring to the table that Giants fans should be excited about?
Well, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you got 2 veteran quarterbacks that are very well respected and really good leaders, and I'm including Jameis along with Russell. But when you're a backup quarterback, you kind of have to sit in the wings because only one guy can be the leader of the offense. You can't have multiple leaders. So you're going to see this kid's personality come out in a big hurry, and he's got a big personality. But he also knows he knows his role, and he knows that he's not coming in as the leader of the offense. He's coming in as a rookie quarterback trying to earn his stripes. It's not going to be too big for him, I promise you. This is not too big for this kid. This kid has such great confidence in himself being part of the team and his athleticism that you bring to the table. Think about when Russell Wilson first started playing. I mean, his legs bailed him out a zillion times as he was learning the game. Now, Jaxson doesn't know the pro game, but I'm telling you what, his legs are going to help bail him out of a lot of situations. And that is a difference maker in the red zone, because now you can have design quarterback runs, or if the play breaks down, you have a guy that, hey, for the last 3 years at Ole Miss, I've watched him a million times have a pocket break down and him still be able to make something positive out of it. And whether it's a red zone or the field, his athleticism is going to make a difference.
Charlie, I can't call you Charlie. Chuck, can you go through the process? I'm the only one he allows to call him Chuck. It's been for 40 years now.
True. That is true.
Well, you both share the same ring.
Can you
Super Bowl 25?
Can you go through just kind of the process of, okay, we've got to make a change. You were on the staff when Phil Simms goes down, and then there's Hostetler. There, obviously every quarterback has its own skill set, right? And you can look at what the numbers say what they are in the red zone for the Giants, right? And you just kind of gave us why that dynamic can change. But the process, okay, it was by injury when Phil went out and we had Hostetler. But when a change is made, what is the process when you guys sit in a staff meeting and you go over, okay, is it one of these, let's run our offense, or is it, what can this kid do? Let's figure out how to give him all the things that he likes.
Well, what you do, any good offensive coordinator, okay, and any good offensive scheme, you build the offense around what the quarterback can do and what he does well, and throw the rest of the stuff out. You do what he does. And that's the problem that a lot of people have. They get so hard-headed where they want to do what they have, all these great ideas that they want to, have called during the game. But the players, whether even it's true with the offensive line. I mean, you do what they can do, but it starts with what the quarterback can do. This is going to be RPO central right now. And they already have that stuff in their offense. They're not putting it in. They're just going to go play to it. And I think that for design quarterback runs will be one of the things that'll be put in there. I mean, Russ, at this stage of his career, you don't want to have design quarterback runs for him. Now, every once in a while they will. But I mean, the problem with Dart is he thinks he's a linebacker, Carl. He wants to run people over instead of getting down. And I'm sure his teammates are saying, okay, Jaxson, it's okay to go down in this league. Those quarterbacks are invaluable. You know how hard it is to find them. I was talking to my kid last night about it. Everyone at Ole Miss is all fired up. All fired up for Jaxson to be playing, especially Charlie and Lane and Judge and those guys that all had direct contact with him. But I know that this will not be too big for him. He's not going to go and crap his pants. He's not. That's not happening. I mean, I'm not promising you. He's going to go throw for 300 yards this first game. But I'm telling you, this New York is not too big for Jaxson Dart.
In the preseason, he's got a nice drive going against the Patriots. He decides to take on a defender. It wasn't a big hit, but the way his head hit the turf, had to leave the game. He was pissed. He's learned his lesson. Will he do it again on Sunday if the chance arises, or is he going to slide?
Well, let me ask you a question. Is it on the 1 yard line? Because on the 1 yard line, on 1 yard line, he's scoring.
Correct.
Okay. Hopefully he's learned. Look, he didn't learn in 3 years. You don't think that Lane and Charlie were telling him all the time to get down? I mean, in 3 years, he's still playing with a linebacker mentality. But just like Josh Allen has done, you learn, hey, sometimes the best route is to go down because those guys on defense are trying to take your head off. I think that situationally, he will go down. Situationally. But if you're counting on him on a crucial situation to go down, you're going to be sorely disappointed because he's going to try to make that play.
I gotta have
Charlie,
a place.
we talked a little. Chuck, we talked a little bit about him coming out of college and how people were saying, well, he didn't play in a pro system, he played in a quarterback-friendly offense. Why is that not a bad thing?
I'll tell you what, that's the biggest joke of all time, because the offensive staff at Ole Miss, starting with the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach, because they figure out ways to get guys open. That's a quarterback-friendly system. The last time I checked, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, when you're spending those times in those meetings, those coaches meetings, you're trying to figure out ways to get guys open. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, so if Ole Miss is guilty of having a quarterback-friendly system, okay, then either
everybody should be found guilty, right?
Either I'm really dumb or I'm guilty as charged.
Or more teams should commit the same crime. Put it that way.
Exactly right.
Charlie, the leadership ability, one of the things you told me about before the Giants ever even drafted him, and you were talking about last year, and we would talk about it, and I'd be watching an Ole Miss game, and you'd be watching. I was always hesitant to text you because I know how locked in you were. But can you just share with the audience about how, sometimes in these situations, things can be a little bit tense, but how he is he's a leader in the sense of everybody gravitates to him, not just offensive players.
Well, during our little technical glitch, Carl and I were having this conversation, and I remember Paul Schwartz asked me about Dart, before the draft. He asked me about Dart, and he was getting ready to go to the combine. I said, do me a favor. When you go to the combine, there's a bunch of players from Ole Miss there. I want you to ask every one of them, including every defensive player, their thoughts on Dart. And I go, no, I'm not going to give you the answer, but you're going to get the same answer from every single person you talk to. And he did, I remember we had this conversation, Jaxson and I, the first conversation I ever had with him, when he asked me what was the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback. And I said, well, I'm going to leave the football out of this, but I'm going to tell you this. I watched Tommy Brady evolve from a fourth-string quarterback his rookie year to a Super Bowl champion and, one of not the greatest players of all time at that position. And what I watched him do was work the entire locker room. So receivers, offensive line, tight ends, running backs. He also played with some guys that aren't so great. Mm-hmm. And one thing you do know at the quarterback position, if you can't be one of the premier leaders of the entire team, then you're never going to have a championship team. Never.
Well, he's got from what we've seen and from what we've heard from you is you have Dexter Lawrence said he's my guy now. He's my favorite quarterback, and that wasn't a slight on Russ. It was just like he just has that infectious personality, and I think it's something that's needed. But the other part that you talked about, Charlie, is his ability to make, I don't know, it's a word now, it's called off-schedule plays, right? So not only, when you have the RPOs, but then you have those plays that if something breaks down, he has the ability and the arm strength to make something happen. Is he reckless in that regard, though? One second.
No.
So we've seen Cam Ward just run around and just sling it up, right? Does he make great decisions when the fire drill happens?
Well, the difference I've watched, I'm a big fan of Cam Ward, but I've watched Jaxson and him evolve from The first year he was playing at Miss to Ole Miss to the third year, he keeps his eye when the things break down, okay, and he moves from the pocket or in the pocket, his eyes stay downfield. He's still looking to throw the ball. And most young guys don't do that, Carl. In other words, once it hits the fan, they usually are running the whole time.
Sure.
Well, he'll keep his eyes downfield. He'll keep his eyes, and that's where a lot of the big plays happen. And if he's got nothing there, he has no problem pulling the ball down and running with it, none at all. And I think that's the difference between him going into this draft. I felt that was the difference between him and almost every other quarterback, is how he kept his eyes down the field when things happened in the pocket. And he was still ready to make a throw, okay, when things weren't going on script, but he had no problem running the football if he had to.
Coach, what about dealing with this Harbaugh defense? I mean, since the start of 2024, this defense is the best in the NFL. And they got obviously an unbelievable safety in Derwin James. Like, how do you, with a young quarterback, how are you going to deal with this?
See, I'm going just the opposite. What are they going to do with him? No, I'm dead serious now. I mean, I watched Harbaugh's interview yesterday. He's concerned. He would have rather play the way things were going. Okay? He's concerned because now he's got totally different elements to be concerned with. I mean, I know Jesse Minter. He was briefly on my staff at Notre Dame, by the way. Okay, you probably didn't know that, but
did not know that.
Okay, but I know their defense, and their defense is really good. But right now, they're the bigger problem because they don't know what they're going to get. The Giants know what they're going to get. The Chargers don't know what they're going to get, and I think it's advantage Giants in that situation.
How does this make the offensive line perform? Like, okay, so you got RPOs, and offensive linemen love run blocking more than they do, or they love the option of run blocking and play action more so than just having to set and having to pass set. Does this help them having these types of plays in there?
Well, the good thing for the offensive line, an RPO to them is a run.
Yeah.
I mean, they're counting on the quarterback getting the ball out before they're illegally downfield. That's the whole premise of an RPO. And contrary to what most people think, RPOs have been in football since when I was calling plays. These aren't a new, novel concept. We just didn't call them RPOs at the time. But everyone had those things incorporated in their offense. But RPOs, linemen like when they can block runs. They do. They like and that's the whole premise of an RPO. If it doesn't look like a run, it takes away the effectiveness of an RPO.
Sure.
And you're counting on the quarterback getting the ball out quick. That ball will be coming out quick when you call RPOs.
Coach, the other thing
linemen like when the ball comes out quick. The answer is they like when the ball comes out quick.
Yeah.
Coach, one of the other things that impressed me about him in the preseason, and again, I know it's the preseason, but his willingness and his ability to stand in there, because even his very first touchdown throw against Buffalo, I mean, he took one right in the old kisser, but he's not fearful as far as standing in there and letting it rip.
That's a concern of mine, though. You're right. It's he's one tough guy. He's a tough guy. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are there's a lot of quarterbacks that are not so tough. Okay, only a handful of them have that toughness. And you can say, well, because those guys take a beating a lot of times.
Yeah,
okay? And they might not get hit 20 times in a game, but when they're getting hit, I mean, they're getting walloped. I mean, when those defensive guys are coming in there, they're getting paid to get to that guy, and especially when he's not throwing the ball. You're talking about when he's dropping back and the pocket breaks down, okay, or somebody's not open and they hold the ball too long. But defensive players, you can ask that guy sitting, there's a guy Banks that's on this interview right here. They love nothing more when a play breaks down and they got a hit on the quarterback in the open field. They absolutely adore that time. Okay.
You look forward to a guy breaking from his protection and you get a clean shot on him. So there's another dynamic that defensive players look for, Charlie, and you talked about his confidence, right? You hit a quarterback a couple of times, and you see this with veterans, and this is Russell. We saw a little bit with him. He got hit a couple of times, and all of a sudden, he started to imagine pressure. He started to bail early, right? The young ones have the young confident ones. They'll stay in there and say, "Frick it, bring it on." And then there are others who get the first sign of danger, they're out of there or they're chucking and ducking.
No, he's a bring it on guy all the way. I mean, I laugh when you said that because it's almost like, oh, are you using my verbiage to sit there and describe this guy? Because and he'll also talk trash now. So, he'll have no problem if somebody does something. He'll have no problem letting them know it.
Wow.
I love quarterbacks that do stuff like that. Tommy Brady blames me for his foul mouth. Okay, he blames me, and I told him I grew up in New Jersey. It's not a foul mouth. It's just growing up in New Jersey. He said I was never like this before you, but you watched him evolve from this California guy, out there in the San Francisco area, to him being one of the biggest trash talkers in the game.
So true.
I mean, Jaxson, he might be from Utah, but you can forget about that Utah personality now. He fits the persona of a metropolitan area kid.
Awesome.
Carl, you got anything else for Coach?
That's it. I just, I'm just excited to see him out there, and the fans should, just based on this conversation, Chuck, I think everyone should be looking forward to this and be excited about it. I think he's gonna use the word juice. I think he's gonna bring juice to the stadium, to the folks in the stands, because this fan base has been suffering a long time, and they've been angry about a lot of things. But when this kid steps on the field, I think he's going to have the entire place juiced up and waiting at the edge of their seat for him to make some plays.
Yeah, they want this to happen now. I mean, you try to lower the expectation because this is a rookie quarterback going in against a top-ranked defense. I said, but I can't tell you how excited I am to be in front of my TV at 1:00 on Sunday. I almost booked a flight to fly up on Sunday morning just because I got to be home to watch Ole Miss LSU. I can't miss that. I mean, yeah. I promise you, Jaxson at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon will not be studying the game plan. He'll be watching Ole Miss play LSU. I promise
awesome.
you that. But with that being said, I'm very, very excited. I can't wait for Sunday's game. I really can't. I mean, I don't get fired up for NFL games too much because I root for people. I root for people, not teams. But this is one of my favorite players to have watched from afar. Obviously, I wasn't. My kid was there, so I root for my kid. But I mean, I told Bob well before the draft, this is the guy the Giants need. How many times did I tell you that, Bob?
All right, fans, listen. You get inundated with these spam calls and texts and emails. Well, you need to protect yourself, right? Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Protect your privacy with Delete Me. And here's how you could do it, because these data brokers, they're going to make a profit off your info. It's commodity. It's currency. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This could lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, your name, your contact information, social security number, home address, even information about your family members. Everything can be compromised by it being compiled by these data brokers, and then it just gets sold. New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. Now, listen, Carl and I both have very active social media online presences. Privacy is extremely important to us. You don't want all your information out there bouncing around. Have you ever been a victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? You haven't, you probably know someone who has. Delete Me can help you. Take control of your information. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our viewers and listeners here. It's really simple. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to deleteme.com/pro, P-R-O. Use the promo code PRO at checkout. The only way to get 20% off, join deleteme.com/pro and enter the promo code PRO, P-R-O. Once again, that's deleteme.com/pro, promo code PRO.
Chuck, we appreciate you coming on, man, and giving some insight. These fans are super on the edge of their seat, but I think this is something they can get behind and, just get re-energized. It's tough, losing a few and then not having success in the years prior just doesn't make this fan base feel warm and fuzzy. But I think, having Jaxson there, this is a change that everybody needs. So thank you for the insight. And, Bobby is dealing with some technical issues, but we got you here and we're glad you came and appreciate you, man.
Well, always for you and Papa. I'm always there for you. Let me just say one thing. You talked about the fans. I think the team's going to be energized too. And
Awesome.
That's no disrespect to Russell Wilson, but this kid, people just feed off of this kid. I mean,
yeah.
I promise you that the team will be energized too. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like Sunday at 1.
All right, Chuck. Appreciate you.
Take care, man.
All right.